Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. In 2008, Barack Obama announced his plan to prevent bad weather by making energy unaffordable for the poor and middle class.
And climate change is a great example. When I was asked earlier about the issue of coal, under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. Even, regardless of what I say about whether coal is good or bad, because I'm capping greenhouse gases, coal-powered plants, natural gas, you name it, whatever the plants were, whatever the industry was, they would have to retrofit their operations. That will cost money. They will pass that money on to consumers.
Obama's plan to make energy prices skyrocket has been very successful. And now many poor people can't afford to heat their homes, feed their children, or drive to work. Joe Biden says this is a very good thing as it's going to push a transition to green energy.
When it comes to the gas prices, we're going through an incredible transition that is taking place that, God willing, when it's over, will be stronger and the world will be stronger and less reliant on fossil fuels when this is over.
But back in the real world, the exact opposite is happening. At the beginning of May last year, the head of the International Energy Agency said, quitting coal power single most important step in 6 months before COP26. But now he says because of high prices and a shortage of natural gas, European countries need to fire up their coal-fired power stations once again. Biden's policies are doing the exact opposite of what he believes they're doing. Meanwhile, the city of Los Angeles has further plans to hurt the poor residents of their state. They have a plan to prevent bad weather by banning new gas stations. Poor people can't afford $6 a gallon gas, so the city instead wants them to purchase a $40,000 electric vehicle. The state of California is trying to force everybody into electric vehicles, and at the same time they're shutting down the electricity generation capacity of the state. At the same time they're doing this, they're making secret deals to purchase coal-fired electricity from Wyoming, which will remain secret until the year 2025. This will actually increase the state of California's carbon footprint because there's a lot of energy loss in transmission lines between Wyoming and California. Psychology Today argues that policies which make energy unaffordable for the poor are designed to help communities of color. And they say the policies they're promoting to make energy unaffordable are tied to gun control. About 60 years ago, Democrats came up with a plan to pay single mothers on welfare more money for each child they had. This provided incentive to have more children out of wedlock and made it unaffordable to get married. As a result of Democrat policies, Democrat-controlled inner cities like Chicago no longer have families, and instead they're controlled by gangs. About 5 people get shot every day by these gangs in Chicago. But the press doesn't report on it much because they normally only report when white children get shot. Guns are for all intents and purposes illegal in Chicago, and these people are being shot by illegal guns. But Psychology Today says they can help poor children in Chicago by taking guns away from law-abiding citizens in other states. Meanwhile, back in the world of global warming, last winter in Antarctica was the coldest on record. At the North Pole, temperatures have been very cold this summer, and it may turn out to be the coldest summer on record at the North Pole. We're now well into summer, but the surface of Greenland is continuing to gain ice mass. It looks like 2022 will be the 4th year out of the last 6 with above normal ice gain on the surface of Greenland. And in Australia right now, they're having one of their coldest starts to winter on record. Due to unprecedented early snowfalls, the Selwyn ski area is having trouble reopening. Poor people in Australia are having difficulty heating their homes because of the very high energy prices and the very cold weather. But The Guardian is telling them to ignore the fact that they're freezing. What's actually going on is that they're burning up because of global warming. And The Guardian argues that policies which make energy unaffordable for the poor are designed to help the poor. There doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence that the world is overheating, but the press keeps telling cold people that they're actually quite hot. In 2013, the BBC reported that a pause in global warming was central to the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. Satellites showed no warming in Earth's troposphere for about 20 years. But the lack of warming didn't suit the needs of politicians, so climate scientists altered the data to turn this non-warming trend into a strong warming trend. And by 2015, the scientists announced that the global warming pause never actually happened. Governments and the press are telling people to ignore the fact that they're freezing and starving in the dark. They want people to believe that they're actually burning up and that governments are acting on their behalf. This is straight out of George Orwell's novel 1984. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. Malcolm X explained exactly what was going on in the 1960s, shortly before he was assassinated.
Going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox. And a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to. But the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling. You take him for a friend.
There are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate.
Democrats pretend to care about poor people and black people when in fact their policies are designed to help their rich globalist friends. Toto has been pulling back the curtain on these frauds for the past 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie, Caesar, Upala, and Toki on the web at realclimatescience.com.